um, this is a how do I put this? Words really don't do adequate because it's something that you deeply feel within your heart and soul, your energy, the energy that is represented by what you are in energy, which is what I am, which is what love is, goes on forever, gifting electrons. Because I'm a monopole, it simply means that you have made a soul agreement with your own soul to surrender all your energy in order that all the energy that exists within the all creation, which is what love is, which is real light, you are what that is, which means that's like a singular engine, right? Which is the eternal vibration from which love naturally flows, the way that love flows in motion, which is the law of least effort, which is the law of spheres that are seeking to be in natural balance with the flow, which are the atom spheres, right? Now you get into the light, why we see light through atom spheres. So in the water worlds are purity. Now we're back to the purity of the fire, which is the purity of the light, which is the purity of your heart, which is the purity of your love that you feel for all creation. So when you have chosen to totally surrender yourself, your soul, on behalf of the grand creator to become one with all creation, it happens. But it means that you have to totally surrender. You can't feel within your own heart and soul that you want to hold on to any resistance. If you're experiencing any resistance as a result of anything held in your cellular memory, as a result of a fragment that was lost in time and space, as a result of trauma that hasn't been recovered and healed, it won't work. So I know that because I've experienced that, because I've had a full phosphorus ignition, which means I'm lighting myself on fire. That's called a complete recalibration. Now I'm back to magnetic 0 ohms. That's the law of least effort. I call it a full circle of light. Okay, because I'm a 13th white Baryctorian polarity integrator. So it's not a coincidence, for example, some months ago, time doesn't exist for us as a monopole, okay? It's, and particularly when you look at my previous videos, but this is really geared more towards what I just experienced because I came across Huna Flash, and that's not a coincidence. So when you're a monopole, I have the ability to be able to be in whatever time and space vector Huna Flash is experiencing what he's experiencing in energy. I can feel within my own heart and soul as a monopole what he's experiencing within him, within his own heart and soul. And I can experience the energy he's experiencing to experience whether or not he's experiencing the light that I am, he's experiencing within him. And I was able to experience that light. So I knew he was of the light. Okay. Now, where there is some resistance is because, remember, I've said in previous videos, any resistance on the planetary consciousness terrain, which is all the software that's connected everybody that's here, actually, wherever I go, anywhere that there is living light and living spirit, I can detect any loss of light, which is a fractal from the soul. Okay, that's called hypersensitivity, which is hyperspeed, right? So you realize that the job that a purifier has, because the amount of energy that is represented by that, which is all the light energy. That's why it's impossible to compress that. That's why it's impossible for me to share all the information or all the experiences that I've had as a result of what I know that I am in energy, which is eternal energy. So it's always gifting energy forever because you've chosen to do that. Okay, that's total surrender of all your energy. Now you're a converter, not an inverter. Right? So now you're the most powerful. And that's what they don't seem to understand, is that when you totally surrender, okay, and there's different terms you could use. I just listened to Huna Flash and talk about, there's only one God, right? In other words, a God source or the Godhead. I think of it as the Father, okay? The Father that blows the breath of living spirit into the goddess. Because you got to know that a God would love to have a girlfriend. Okay, and that's cold fission and hot fusion. Hot fission and cold fusion that join together as one. That's what happens when you totally surrender to become a monopole. But it's total surrender. It's not going to work if you haven't surrendered all of your energy in order to serve on behalf of, if you will, the Father and Mother of all creation that have joined forces to become one. One, and then you have three. Now you have the relationship between fire and water, right? So you know that one molecule of water will put out 300 molecules of heat for obvious reasons, right? Now you get into the goo, the resin, the catalyst. So the spiritual, the feminine side, the goddess side of spiritual information, or what you feel through your heart and soul, is organized through the male side. That's your organizing. That's your orderly fashion, which is the higher intelligence side is informing you that, hey, there's no effort in gifting away love. You're gifting it away. You're naturally gifting away without even having to think about it, because it's not what you think. It's what you feel through your heart and soul, what it is you're experiencing at the moment you're experiencing it, which is the depletion of a magnetic circuit. And that's aloha. The breath of living spirit, that's an eternal gift. That's an eternal blessing. So when you're experiencing what that is, you've arrived. Contact. Right? Okay. So the resistance comes from really what I experienced when he had Charlie Ward on, for example. So I'm reminded by the fact that I don't know Charlie Ward. I've never met him personally, eyes to eyes, soul to soul, spirit to spirit. But what I know that when you're giving love unto all creation, if you're in my mirror, then you're in the same creation that I am, that I'm giving love to. No matter who you are. You could be a giraffe. You could be a bug on the wall. But if I'm sitting in the room and everything that is in the room, or everything that's out in the forest, whatever is out in that forest is an experience what I am in energy, which is what love is. That's a mirror. Just like trees are mirror, which are gates. Okay, so I call it, I'm running a hot mirror, which is a hot gate. So you realize I have different words that I use to describe it, like a firewall, which means in order to get through the gate, which represents what I am, you got to be burning hot. Otherwise, you just burn right up. You won't get through that gate. Okay. So that's why I've always known since childhood, there are certain places that I have images of where I've been, of what I'm experiencing, which are the most unbelievable, what I call canvases of what's possible to experience through infinite creative imagination or infinite creative intelligence, upon which those galleries, as I call them, art galleries, are what's possible to experience when you have natural ways in which to make that happen, because you're creatively on fire by the amount of energy that is represented by what you have in fire to do that. And that is the gift of being a purifier, is that you've chosen to serve forever. And that is a choice because you have free will to make that choice. But as you know, here, they don't want to give up control, right? And not wanting to give up control is born out of what? Fear. Fear of letting go. They don't want to let go. So it would be much like somebody who's got a leash on a dog. And you can test it, means test it. Let your dog go, take the leash off, and see what your first reaction is. Oh, no, don't let him go. Something might happen. See the fear response? That's a fear reaction state. Now you went from being in a state of love for your dog to a state of fear. Now you're in fear of the dog. Oh, I have to control the dog. As if the dog isn't intelligent enough by the manner of the instruction sets that are encoded in that software for that dog to know how to be able to survive in the environment in which it found itself when it was born. Now we're back to Dr. Sebas. Remember, I never went to school. I didn't need to go to school. I had a relationship with the earth. What I was learning, having a relationship with the great living oversoul spirit of Mother Earth. And therein lies the difference, if you will, between how you see different people that live in the way that they do live in spirit form, which is energy form, which is the relationship that we have in spirit and in soul with other souls and other spirits, between all the elementals and everything else that is in spirit form, that is in energy form, presenting itself in energy form. And of course, we can see that on the color-coded terrain, right? But it's the energy that we experience, and what I call the resistance to experience love in your heart for everything that is in your mirror. And if you're experiencing any resistance, it means that's the resistance we are experiencing within us to experience the purity of our light. Because the resistance is held within the cellular memories as a result of being connected to everybody in the language of DNA within any universal template. So you can see how the language of DNA, which is connected to all the different networks upon which soul consciousness or consciousness is connected, that is communicating through those circuits. In this case, motherboard, right? So we're all connected. There isn't any separation. Okay, that's the illusion part. There isn't any separation. The difference is the core, like the core of the planet, the center point of the planet, the core. Right? Vibrational core. How hot is it? Right? So now you know why there's sun goes up and sun goes down, cooling the engine down, right? Between water and land, water worlds and land, or if you will, the land mass, and then the water, right? Why sound travels through water the way that it does, seeking what? The pathway of least electrical resistance in order to distribute more light to water columns. Now you're into the log scale water column tables. Is that water in balance? Now you can test the pH of the planet and all the water worlds. So now we're measuring the purity, which is the purity of the fire that is in that light that's being experienced on a planetary consciousness level. And that's pretty straightforward. So what I was reminded of, because it's true, because I experienced it, to know that it's true, of how it works, because I experienced the result. That's the beauty of experiential learning. We're experiential learners. We learn through the experience because now we're experiencing the result in energy with our mirrors. So what I'm reminded by, it doesn't make any difference to me who you are. Remember I talked about this when I was a little boy? There's your soul journey led by spirit, and spirit is a teacher because spirit is in the energy. Spirit's in everything. So if spirit is your teacher that is with your soul, then you're experiencing what you're experiencing based on the freedom or the free will of your spirit to experience what you're learning as you go from all your experiences as a result of the opening and closing of magnetic circuits. Right? So I'm on fire, so I happen to love the energy that I am that allows me to give it away. Now you're free, which means there isn't any resistance. It means you're not allowing your spirit, which is in that light, which is what that love is, that your soul consciousness that is imprinted into the software. So your soul is running your software. So when you're led by spirit to be free, you realize that love is what frees us. Whoa, there must be a genius somewhere that figured that out. No, you're experiencing it within yourself to know that and experience that. So experience is the teacher because you experience the result of less resistance. Now you're clearing the circuits. Remember I talked about lighting yourself on fire? That's total surrender. Now you're going to clear all the trauma, which is a way in which you can heal yourself. Now you're lit on fire, right? Now you're naturally a living star, like a real one. Now you're a power converter instead of an inverter, needing energy from others in which they want to hold our energy captive. So they're not there yet. They're getting there. That's the whole idea, is to let go. So if you let yourself go, you're letting others go. And you're letting others go to be free because they're experiencing what love is. You are experiencing what love is. And when we are all experiencing what love is, we're now experiencing the law of least effort. Now we're going with the flow, which is going with the music. Now we're tuned in and there aren't any more distortions in the water worlds, which means there is no turbulence, which means we're all in a state of peace. Being in a state of peace with the great living spirit of Mother Earth. Yeah. She wants peace amongst all of us that are here. That's why I've said many times, the archaic revival is bringing us, remembering who we all are, all together now. There isn't any separation. So this is where I realize control is the central dilemma. They don't want to give up control. They don't want to take the leash off. They don't want to get rid of the cages. They don't want to get rid of the prisons. We got to round them all up and keep them under control, because God has forbid that they would ever be free to be what it is that they are. No, we got to control what they experience through us, because we're the ones that have the problem, okay, about control. Because surveillance systems, even though you can think of your own eyeballs as being a surveillance system, when you're in a state of love, you're not experiencing any fear. Everything through your eyeballs that you're experiencing in your mirror, you're in love with, because the energy you're experiencing is what love is. That means you've cleared all your circuits, which means the trauma from which was holding those circuits in lower channels. Now you want to burn through all your chakras and go cosmic level, so you're wearing a crown. That's what it means. A crown is a flower lay. That's why when you totally surrender, if you will, the male side, the God side surrenders all the electrons, if you will, the silver male to join with the gold female. We all know that gold is a superconductor. Yeah, so when the silver X, the male, and the female join forces to become one, now you're just as much a flower as you are the blade. That's called the chalice and the blade, or the blade and the chalice cup. That's why when I go out here on the rock, I put my palms together, which is the blade. Then I open the blade, put my fingers back in like a heart, and start gifting unconditional love, gifting love to everybody in the all creation. See, go like this. Except I do it like this. Pans come together like this, right? That's the chalice cup. See the heart? Shh. That's being joined as one. That's androgynous. Right? So you become one with all creation. See? So that's why you're equal unto all, and that's called an equilibrium state. So now when you have the minus / the plus, right, between negative and positive polarity, and you're choosing to surrender all your energy forever in which to serve on behalf of all creation, then you are naturally gifting love to all creation, which means unto all creation, because you are equal unto all that you give love to, naturally. So it naturally flows that way. So now there's no effort. There's no effort involved. It just happens naturally. And that's the beauty of it. And that's the gift of it. And why I've always said it's an eternal gift. It's an eternal blessing that goes on forever, gifting electrons. Yeah, they're here, Mama. Karen said the other day, Andromedans are inbound. When I was sitting out on the rock the other day, I was communicating through my heart and soul with the sun, and the sun was lighting up, and I could feel all my relatives, my brothers and sisters, Arcturians and Andromedans. But it's we gift love to all creation. Everything, from the elementals, everything that is in spirit form is like relatives, because all living life, living energy, living spirit are all sacred temples to us, because it's an eternal gift. It's an eternal blessing to be able to experience that much fire that you have in your heart and soul, because you're lit on fire. You're on fire, and that's what purifies your light and burns off any exposure, like exposing the negative. Yeah, or what we used to call goo. Actually, when I was a child growing up, we had actually a word that you may have heard about, what we call street language. I didn't invent it. I just remember hearing it, and it applied. We used to call it cooties. Don't let the cooties get on you. All right? Sticky stuff. The glue that Yellow Rose talked about, trying to glue us. Resin glue, they had to unglue us. Fireworks. So the 13th, 1 and 3 is 4. That's a tetrahedron. The lake of fire is certainly associated with Arcturians, right? The gang's all here. So that's why I've always said it's a resistance game. And I, just like yesterday, when I came back out and did a powerful mantra right here on the rock, I came back in, and then the next thing I know, when I had this phone on right here, uh, all of a sudden the 5G access just stopped, quit, and I've had it where I've gone out there with the rock and done that, and came in here and the power went off. Okay, in the house, and all of a sudden the internet shuts down, right? And then yesterday, I was experiencing wanting to share some information with Karen and McDonald, and I couldn't hit a keypad. It just wouldn't work. I mean, all of a sudden the E, like an E on the pad, would sort of pop up vertically, right, like on a 3D axis, and it would just hang there. Oh, I'm looking into E, like it went vertical, airborne, an airborne E off the keypad, right? And then it's just stuck there. And it's just like, come on. I was locking up the phone. Hey, come on, buddy, get this going. I want to share this information. And it was just like, oh, man, that's resistance. This artificial intelligence is resisting that much energy. It can't experience that much energy that you realize connected to my heart and soul is represented by that much energy. It doesn't have the capacity to experience the spin rate on that. Right? You know. It's the way it works. And that's a gift to be able to experience that. Except in this particular case, it wasn't allowing me to put the information in, the communication, the energy, the love I was experiencing, how powerful it is to go out there and do that on the rock. Particularly on this island, the big island. Right? Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to share that because I was experiencing the resistance. I don't experience that with Huna, but I was experiencing the relationship in Charlie because of how I'm very familiar with how the war of deception works, or the game, what we call an AI war game of deception. Because at the end of the day, what I felt is that there's your journey and there's my journey. Okay, everything is energy, and spirit is in everything. Okay, it's not up to me to decide how you use your energy, because the same free will that represents what I am is the same free will I would hope that you have, which means, and I've known this since I was a child, when they talked about the Declaration of Independence, which means you have the free will right, God-given right, goddess-given right, to be able to truly express yourself, whatever you want to express, so that you're not living in any fear that anybody's trying to control you. For example, what we call censorship. Okay? In the olden days, Indians would say, speak your piece. Okay? Which means whatever's on your mind, whatever you're feeling, whatever your soul is feeling, whatever your spirit wants to communicate, you are free to do that in a state of peace, because we do no harm. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're going through, whatever you're experiencing, share away. Okay? Which means this isn't a prison compound. You're not being interrogated. Okay? Which means you are free to express yourself, because we love you, because we give love to all creation. Because you're in the mirror. You're in our mirror. And if you're in our mirror, then we're giving love to you naturally. So anything that you are free to express yourself, you are always free to express yourself at our council. Whatever's on your mind, speak away. Because now I'm going to learn through you how you experience being what you are in energy. And if you're being held captive by something else, then we'll do everything that we can to help you in order for you to be free, which means your spirit is now free to truly express your true free will, which is your spirit that is guiding your soul to be free, where you're not held captive by anything. That's what free will is. That's what free light is. That's what love is. That's what we are in living spirit. So where that particular being happens to be on their particular journey, the way that atoms and energy naturally work in spirit form are naturally going to flow the way that the universe naturally flows, upon which you're learning being that flow. So anything that is not in alignment or in balance with the natural flow of energy will naturally correct itself, which means the atoms in the consciousness, the souls and the spirits that are naturally self-correcting what they know to be atoms that are in balance, water worlds that are in balance, fire and water that is in balance, because of the relationship between 1 and 3 and 3 and 1. H2 plus 1 equals 3. 3 spheres logo of Gaia. Now, being 1, it works a little different, because I lit myself on fire which is 3 in 1. So she's 3 in 1 with us. So we're one with all creation that we're gifting love to. See, so now we're with Mama experiencing what love is, which means she's now experiencing what love is to us and her. Now we're all together. Now we're experiencing love as a law. That's what it means to repair a grid. Because our natural home is a home in which we experience love wherever we go, because that's what we are in soul and spirit, the essence and nature of our spirit. So it simply means that no matter who you are and who you've been with and the associations that they've had with others that might be gangsters, the universe of consciousness or the multiverse of consciousness is naturally going to seek of its own free will to be in balance, to be able to experience peace in water worlds, on fire. Experiencing the amount of love, which is the amount of light that we have to experience within us, how much love we have to share with the all creation. And the universe naturally seeks to do that because that's a pathway of least electrical density resistance in which to experience that, which essentially means healing and burning off everything that's been held in memory as a result of being held captive to it, which is the resistance as a result of the trauma. So you can see how that plays out across all the seeded races in which Star Wars began, that created all this trauma. As a result, therein. So how do you clear all that trauma so that more seeded races are experiencing the one? Fire. Fire is what burns it off. That's how I did it. So I experienced how it works, becoming one. So now the father and the mother are joined as one. Now there's no separation between the two. Now you're experiencing both. You are one, which means there isn't any separation. I'm just as much a flower as I am the seed. Right? Yeah. I know that sounds pretty simple, and people don't experience being that, but I can tell you from experience, it's called surrender. And the simplicity of it is actually you surrender to yourself. You're not surrendering to anybody else. You're surrendering within your own true self. So when Patty mentioned sometime your true self outside the time stream, love is outside the time stream. When you're experiencing eternal love, which is true love, which is unconditional, that's not fake love. That's not a word. That's a vibration. Yeah, I'm feeling that all right. And when you're experiencing what love is, that's called the absence of fear, because there's a wide spread in vibes between a fear vibration and a love vibration. That's right. So now you know the difference between fear-based beings as a result of resistance to experience love-based beings. So love-based beings and fear-based beings, see the difference in vibes? They're not vibing with us, see? So how come they're not vibing with us? Resistance. The resistance to experience what love is. And if there's resistance to experience what love is, that means that they have resistance to experience the law. The law, the way it works, it naturally flows. So their mind is then resistant, yes. To experience love, yes. That's what makes it a lie, because love does no harm. So the very idea you got to control what love is not sane. So you already know their future is limited. As a result, therein. Because it means that they lack the capacity to experience more light, which is more love. So you realize they can't experience all there is that is out there that love created. And that's where all the pain comes in, because you're experiencing their resistance to experience more light, which to experience what love is. As a result of what? Seeded races that went to war against each other. It's just the way it works. Density altitude. You know, vertical and horizontal stabilizers. The center point of a cross, the center point of what? Magnetosphere. Magnets, spinning magnets. Yeah. Anyway, have a beautiful day. That was for Charlie Ward. I hope you're doing well. I want you. The way it works with me is that to be able to experience everybody, being able to experience what love is. Wow. Just imagine what's possible. We know that anything is possible with what love is, which means the very idea that anybody has to suffer or go without energy, that's a lie. So you know what Regulator, remember Billy the Kid? What was that series of movies that came out in the 80s or 90s? Young Guns. And one of them said, yeah, those are the regulators. Well, when he's referring to regulators, they're talking about voltage regulators. Voltage regulators are called meters. Meters on the chakras, meters on your cellular energy, the voltage. Yeah, they're metering. That's all your scanning stuff, see? It's in resistant mode to experience more light through them that we experience in us. Well, we're the law of spheres. Sorry, it's the way it naturally works. So it's a matter of honor, the honor code. What do they honor? So if they honor the highest code, it means they honor the law, which means they honor what love is, because they know that's the highest law, because that's a superconductor. That's what gold is. So in this case, a monopole, which is monatomic gold. That's the female side. Spiritual information now getting organized with silver. Spinning like crazy. I used to do this a lot with Mama. When her spirit going like this, dancing with her, right? Dancing with her. Going off into dreamland, girl. Have a good day. Love you all. Aloha.